What's up, guys? Welcome to this edition of a Funko Popcast. I am DK Wrestler.
And I'm MD Shady.
And in today's podcast, it's all about the recently announced WonderCon 2023 exclusive pops from Funko. So this just got announced, at least as we're recording this, a few days ago. This past Thursday, we are recording it on Monday, March 6th. Yeah, there is a lot of WonderCon exclusives to actually go through. We are, of course, just talking about the pops. We have done videos previously discussing about the sodas and also some of the other items. We will also eventually do a all sodas podcast very soon. So revisiting those sodas, that'll be on that podcast. But specifically today, we are talking about just the pops. And I wanted to talk about the overall result of WonderCon reveals. For me, at least, if I can describe it in one word, it was unexpected. I don't know what you have to say about WonderCon overall after seeing all the reveals.
There definitely is a couple decent things with WonderCon, at least with this year. But if I had to sum it up in one word, I would say unimpressive.
What's so unexpected about this is that when I see the reveals happening, we're getting reveals every 15 minutes. Not only that, we have it with a bunch of different items. Like usually with WonderCon, it's usually very Disney heavy. So by the time we were done all the Disney reveals that kicked off, I thought, okay, we may get like 2 more reveals and that's it. But they just kept going. And that might be because Funko was not at Emerald City Comic Con this year. So I think they kind of made WonderCon one of, or would be considered one of the big 3 this year, replacing Emerald City Comic Con, which is why we'd gotten so many exclusives, especially since Emerald City Comic Con just happened this past weekend, while WonderCon happens at the end of March. So 2 conventions very close together as terms of dates. They probably wanted to stick to one or the other. So they chose WonderCon this year. We might as well go into talking about the Funko Pops, which we will discuss about them one at a time. So we might as well kick off with the very first reveal, which was of Powerline from a Goofy movie as a part of the Disney lineup, which this pop will be shared with the Funko shop in the US and will be shared with Toys R Us here in Canada. I will let, MD discuss a full-on description on his opinions of the pop, starting off with obviously the regular Powerline.
Okay, so starting off with the regular Powerline, this is pretty decent. I don't remember if there was a Powerline previously. I know that we got a couple different pops for the Goofy movie, but Powerline, people definitely like this character. So it is cool to see that at least WonderCon starts off with a pretty cool pop.
Yeah, and I believe after looking at some of the comments on social media, there may have been a Powerline before, but this one is more of an updated mold. There were some people wanting other characters, like I think the one that was mentioned, I'm looking at the comments right now, is Roxanne, which I have not seen a Goofy movie, so I have no idea about any of like the characters that are involved. But the overall design is pretty sweet with Powerline, and I think it was a well done and well executed pop. The next pop, I guess, we'll go into is that same pop, but it is a Diamond Collection variant that will be a part of a pop and bag bundle where the bag also glows in the dark. And this will be exclusive to the Funko shop only in the States. Unfortunately, for fellow Canadians that may be listening to this podcast, unfortunately, the Diamond Collection pop, if you're interested in it, will not be shared to anywhere here in Canada. You will have to get it off of the Funko shop website in the States, and then hopefully you might have a reshipper to get it out to you.
Yeah, I don't know. Diamond Collection on this, I don't know. I don't really like it that much. The bag itself is pretty dang cool, but I just don't feel like we need a Diamond Collection pop to go along with the more common variant of Powerline.
I don't know why they made it Diamond Collection or glitter or whatever you want to call the specification. I think we were just fine with just the regular one. And if you wanted to release a Diamond Collection one later on down the line, okay. But I don't understand why Funko, and this is not the first con they've done this. They did this a few more times. I believe they did it even at New York Comic Con back in October, where for some reason they release the same pop, but one is a regular version and then the other is some sort of specification. Now that I'm remembering off the top of my head, it was that one Gloomy Bear pop where they did a regular version and then they did a flocked version. And not only was it at the same con, it was shared to the exact same retailer, which I believe was Toy Tokyo. So I don't know why they did that instead of making the regular one just a regular exclusive and then the flocked one being a Comic-Con exclusive. I'm not sure why they did that. And that also is going to happen with another pop that we're going to be discussing about later on in this podcast, where it is a regular version and then a specification version. Yeah, the brown and the black don't look all that great when it comes to the Diamond Collection specification. I would prefer not getting this, even though I feel with every pop and bag bundle, they are limited to like 3,000 to 5,000 pieces. So people might want to get it for the sake of a limited piece count. So I guess the next pop we're going to be discussing about is a new Lotso for Toy Story, and it's going to be a part of the brand new Classics lineup, which this is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US and will be shared with Toys R Us here in Canada. I guess I might as well just kick off talking about this Lotso. This is great. I love the idea that Lotso is getting a new pop. Do I wish that it was a flocked pop and how it could be strawberry scented? Yes, but I'm fine with it just being a regular old version of Lotso, a much better molding compared to the original Lotsos, whether it's the regular one or the D23 flocked pop that's like $2,000. And yeah, I like the special treatment that this Lotso is getting. You got this cool stand where it has like year one, and then you have the pin, the card, and the coin, along with that tin case that's involved with this. I think Pop Culture, of all places, will probably be getting this on their website, and they no longer have restricted shipping on their Comic-Con exclusives. So that may be my best bet on wanting to get it as soon as possible before Toys R Us gets it, because who knows how long it's going to be for Toys R Us to actually get it. I'm super happy that there's a Toy Story exclusive overall for a Comic-Con, because we haven't gotten one since 2019 New York Comic-Con, I believe. I'm not going to count the Alien Remix one from San Diego Comic-Con 2020, just because that's not exactly Toy Story. I mean, it is, but it's not at the same time. But a full-on Toy Story character getting a Comic-Con exclusive. Let's go.
Yeah, this is a really exciting announcement with Lotso. I do think it could have been better, though. It does seem kind of plain. I kind of wish that he had his cane, or like DK had discussed, we definitely need a flocked Lotso with a new molding, and then the strawberry scent would be awesome as well. But I do think that this is cool, and I like the idea of these classics pops like this. One thing that does scare me about this, though, is that I have seen a couple of different like horror story pictures of the other classics pop. I forget what pop that was, but a lot of boxes coming in like completely smashed up. So hopefully that doesn't happen with this lot. So definitely a pop that I, myself, and DK are definitely going to want to get. So yeah, really exciting. And I like the idea with this. You get the coin, the pin, and the card, which is cool. And the box itself is pretty sweet. I'm interested to see what the actual like inside pop box looks like inside of the box that you get on the outside, if that makes any sense. But yeah, this is definitely cool. I think it could have been better, but definitely a great announcement for WonderCon.
I guess I'll mention two things. First off, the first Classics pop was Batman. And I know that
Batman, right.
Pop Culture actually got that one in, which is why my hopes are up a lot on Lotso going in, because if they got in the Batman and this pop is supposed to be supposedly 25,000 pieces, then there's no reason why they wouldn't get the Lotso one coming in, especially as a Comic-Con exclusive. And I should also mention, even though it's 25,000 pieces, there are some being made that have a con sticker and a shared sticker along with it, which you do see on the bottom right of the glam shot there for Lotso, what the con sticker one looks like. And then there's actually one that does have a Funko 25th anniversary and says Wondrous Convention for the shared, which I don't give a about the sticker. I just want the pop. And you can look on the Funko app right now, and there is a glam shot of what the box looks like, and it looks pretty sweet. So I guess the next figure we're going to be discussing about Hercules, with figure from, of course, Hercules, which this is going to be shared with Walmart in both Canada and the US. And this is an all right figure, I guess I'll mention right now.
Yeah, this is okay. I mean, it's nothing too crazy. I think we have seen a lot better Hercules pops. But yeah, I mean, if you want this version of Hercules with the figure, then this isn't bad. The molding is really good on this. And it is cool to see some love for Hercules because I feel like it's been a little bit since we've seen a Hercules pop.
It's cool that we're getting Hercules pops now, especially because the 20th anniversary just surpassed of the movie. But I do feel that there probably is some characters left over that they could have done instead of making like Hercules himself once again as a pop. I know the comments, people were doing that one joke of like Herculad, I believe it was, which I believe is what they were calling like the figure. I can't exactly remember. It's been so long since I've seen Hercules. Overall, it's not too bad. I mean, if they were to continue Hercules, new characters would be nice though. Up next, we have ourselves Cinderella with trays for the Disney Princess lineup, which this is going to be shared with the Funko Shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. And this isn't too bad of a Disney princess figure. It's very refreshing instead of seeing, hey, here's a Disney princess. Let's slap a gold dress on it and some metallic paint on it. And boom, here is your Disney princess pop. This is very unique because you get more of kind of a deluxe, but not really with the trays in both of the hands. Very unique for the Disney princess lineup, but I don't know. I feel like there definitely was better Disney princess pops, but still an improvement compared to those gold dress pops.
Yeah, it's nice to see that we're getting something different other than those Disney Princess pops. And yeah, this pop is pretty sweet. There's a lot more going on with this with the trays and the like teapots that are there with it rather than just seeing a basic princess pop. Like even like the ones with the cool bases, I mean, those are decent, but I feel like there's not a whole lot going on with them, whereas this is from a specific scene, which is really cool to see.
All right, so the next pop is Flik on Dandelion Seed Pop Deluxe from Pixar's A Bug's Life, which this will be shared with the Funko Shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. I was so ecstatic to see that we're actually getting more A Bug's Life Funko Pops. I believe we mentioned on our two-part Pixar podcast about how A Bug's Life definitely deserve more Funko Pops than what it has from the three that we normally see. And even though, yes, it is another flick, I do like how they acknowledge this scene into pop form right at the beginning of the movie. But I mean, I'm hoping that this may be a sign that A Bug's Life will be the new Emperor's New Groove as terms to pops, where we may see A Bug's Life Funko Pops for a bunch of cons in the near future, whether we already got WonderCon, we may see one at San Diego Comic-Con in July, New York Comic-Con in October, and probably I would assume there's going to be D23 pops this year also because of the 100th anniversary of Disney. So we could be seeing a lot more A Bug's Life Funko Pops down the line, even a huge wave that isn't Comic-Con exclusive. So I'm really excited about that possibility happening in the year of 2023, and this is the start of it. But yeah, this is great to see. And one thing I do want to mention is how surprised I am that this wasn't like a box lunch shared exclusive and it is a Funko Shop exclusive, considering I understand about the Lotso because it is that classics lineup, so it's going to be a Funko Shop exclusive. But normally box lunch has a like Disney shared exclusive, and they actually have none this year. So it's a bit surprising that this was sent to the Funko Shop.
Yeah, this is a pretty dang sweet pop. And I hope that DK is absolutely right with us getting some more Bugs Life pops this year. And it'll definitely make me want to continue collecting. I do have the Flik and the Princess Ada, the original pops. So yeah, I would definitely love to see a Hopper or a new Heimlich. I think would be really cool as well with a retooled mold. But this pop is sweet. I like how it is more of a deluxe pop because there's quite a bit going on with it. You have the base, obviously, because that pop would never stand without a base. And then the attire that he's wearing from the beginning of the movie, that's really cool as well. So it is different from the original pop itself. And yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy this. I don't know if I'll actually get this, especially if I do go to try to collect more Bugs Life pops as they come out, because I feel like the OG Flik is kind of just good enough. I don't want to see a bunch of different variations of Flik, but I would love to see a bunch of different characters from A Bug's Life, and there's quite a few different characters from A Bug's Life, so I think that Funko could do really well with this set coming into 2023.
All right, so the next pop, we're moving out of the Disney realm and we're going to DC Comics with Poison Ivy from Batman, which this is going to be shared with FYE in the US and Sunrise Records here in Canada. This is a pretty unique pop. I mean, we have seen quite a bit of Poison Ivy pops as of late, especially with the comic covers that released as a Walmart exclusive, more specifically an Earth Day Walmart exclusive with the cool cardboard box. And this one has a lot of detail with the whole vines going on, and especially there's like mouths on the certain part of the vines that I really like, kind of the application of the paint with the eyeshadow with that bright green, and you do see some pieces of the like leaves from the vines in her hair also. I think this is pretty decent. Do I think it's going to sell well? Maybe, but maybe not at the same time.
Yeah, this is pretty sweet. I love Poison Ivy, and this is one of the more detailed Poison Ivies that we've seen recently. So this is cool. Yeah, I mean, the detail with this is awesome, especially with the vines going around the body like that. Will it sell well? I kind of hope not, especially since it's going to Sunrise, because it might just sit around and possibly go on sale. And then I'd probably buy it at that point. But at retail, I don't think I need this pop that much, though it is very detailed.
Next pop we have here is Hedwig with Letter from Harry Potter, which this is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. And I was very disappointed about this pop. It's not because it's a Harry Potter pop. I mean, I'm excited when I see Harry Potter pops as terms to what they can pull off. But when you have a character like Hedwig that they've made quite a bit of, not as much as obviously like the three main characters of like Harry, Ron, and Hermione, but up there with a lot of Funko Pops, and you just got like a regular version, you got more of a tinier version when you do like the Harry Potter platform 9 3/4 moments. But this is just, let's slap a Hedwig, add another piece of plastic for a letter. So it's just not that appealing to me. But I think people are also freaking out about this pop because, at least on the Funko app, it shows that this will be limited to 3,000 pieces. So if it is the case that this is going to be for sure a 3,000 piece, which there's a lot of pops listed on the WonderCon list that are like limited to 3,000 pieces, but they're not con only, especially a Marvel one we're going to be discussing about in a little bit. I don't know if this will actually end up being a 3,000 piece or it's just an error on Funko's part. But I mean, if it is 3,000 pieces, then I guess it definitely makes sense because it is not that appealing of a pop. So that way only a certain amount of them were made.
Yeah, I think you summed that one up pretty well. This seems like we've already basically got this exact same pop, obviously without the letter, but yeah, definitely unnecessary. If it is the piece count, then that's okay, I suppose, but I don't see why they couldn't have pulled off something better for a con pop.
All right, so now we're going to move over to the Freddy Funko Pops. We have ourselves two versions of Freddy Funko. One is Baseball Freddy Funko, and the other is a Clown Freddy Funko, which the Baseball Freddy Funko is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. So unfortunately, us Canadians cannot get this Freddy Funko unless, of course, like I mentioned with like the pop and bag earlier, you have to probably order on the Funko shop, and hopefully if you have a reshipper, then it ships out. It's not just Canada. The rest of the world won't have a Freddy Funko, I believe, and especially the clown one, because that will be a WonderCon exclusive only, con only pop, limited to 1,500 pieces. Now, these Freddy Funkos, they're not too bad. I noticed in the comments on social media, a lot of people are excited about seeing a Comic-Con exclusive Freddy Funko. The baseball one is a little bit meh. And I kind of like the idea of the clown one. And I do like the idea that that's a limited piece count because of the fact that it is better between the two. And then there is some bad hype, though, about this pop because I believe it is the same molding as the Ghost Clown from Scooby-Doo, if I'm not mistaken, except they just switched the color up. And then with the Freddy Funko, you just took the head and then you added more of like clown face paint. But nonetheless, these are some pretty decent Freddy Funko Pops, even though for people that know me, know that I'm not entirely a fan of Freddy Funko and that I feel the character's a little bit overrated.
It is pretty cool to see some Freddy Funkos for con exclusives. These ones aren't the greatest in my opinion. Starting off with the baseball, it is pretty lackluster. I feel like we've seen pops like this before and there's not a whole lot going on with with it. And then with the clown Freddy, I mean, it's pretty cool. I like the way it looks, but yeah, it is just a couple of different pops kind of slapped together with some different paint on them. And the overall finish of it looks cool, but it's just nothing that I would really want to collect as terms to Freddy Funkos.
All right, so now we're moving over to two more pops that we'll discuss about at the same time. And it's what I mentioned earlier when talking about Powerline. So we got ourselves two new Gelatinous Cube pops from Dungeons and Dragons, which we have ourselves a non-glow version and a glow-in-the-dark version. So the non-glow version of this Gelatinous Cube will be shared with GameStop in both Canada and the US, while the glow-in-the-dark Gelatinous Cube will be a convention-only pop. So this will be exclusive to only the con. So you have to travel to Anaheim, California in order to get this pop, or just buy a ridiculous price pop of that on eBay. I really like the concept that they actually made another Gelatinous Cube. The original one was super popular, and then they made just a different color version, but I kind of like this one a little bit better for the sake that with the original one, I believe, which I know MD does have, you just have the head in the cube, while you basically have a full-on body this time. For this Gelatinous Cube, you got a couple of arrows kind of sticking inside of the Gelatinous Cube. Part of the hand is sticking out, which is pretty sweet. And I guess this is a perfect timing to announce this pop for two reasons. First off, the Dungeons and Dragons movie is releasing soon in theaters. I believe it's this month or it's next month. I could be wrong that the Dungeons and Dragons live action movie is releasing. So we could be seeing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons pops releasing this year. And also recently announced was the Dungeons and Dragons NFT Funko Pop set. So that was really cool. As terms of this pop, I do like the idea that it's non-glow and glow, just because it gives like an option if you want just the glow or you want both. I mean, if you're looking for the entire Dungeons and Dragons set, you're going to want to get both of them. But I do like the idea of the glow in the dark specification, just for the simple fact that it gives you more of, I guess it almost looks like an underwater vibe, because it'll be nice and blue. It kind of looks like it's underwater, even though it is like a gelatin cube, hence the name Gelatinous Cube. But I think it will look pretty decent, especially if you put the black light to it long enough to show off that effect. So I can't wait to see people showing this off in like YouTube videos, because I think it will turn out better than what we think it will turn out to be.
Yeah, this pop is amazing. I really enjoyed the original Gelatinous Cube, so I definitely plan on getting this one. I like that there is a blue version now of the Gelatinous Cube as well. And yeah, it looks sweet. I mean, with the whole body as well as the hand sticking out and then the arrows actually penetrating the Gelatinous Cube is wicked. I love the design of this. Is it better than the normal one? I don't know. Maybe we can do a video on that once I do obtain this, because it definitely is one of the more sought after pops for me for WonderCon.
Coming up next, we have two pops from One Piece. Trafalgar with Polar Tang pop rides, which this was going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. And then we got ourselves Eustass Kid, I don't even know how that's pronounced, which will also be shared with the Funko shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. So I will start off talking about the pop rides here, which this isn't too bad. The last two conventions we've had have been basically pop rides of One Piece. We had the Luffy on Going Merry for NYCC, and we had the Luffy with Thousand Sunny, which we did do a giveaway on for CCXP. And now we have a different character this time with a different rides for WonderCon. So could there be a possible trend that we see more pop rides throughout the year for One Piece? But overall, I do like the way that the boat looks. I think it's pretty unique compared to the boats we have gotten for the Luffy ones. But I know that regardless of whether people like this or not, this is going to sell like hotcakes because of how those other ones had sold. And then the singular pop looks pretty cool also, with the amount of detail that is involved, where it's got the like robotic-y arm, I'm assuming it is. I have not seen One Piece, nor do I have the time to go through that 64 episode season anime. But the overall detail looks really awesome. There isn't really a bad anime pop until well, we pretty much talk about the next pop that gets announced.
Yeah, these are pretty sweet. I mean, the Going Merry and the Thousand Sunny were awesome, so it seems like Funko is putting out some really cool pop rides, and this one is no exception to that. This looks great. Yeah, I mean, both pops here are pretty cool. They seem like con pops, which is a great thing, especially when you're talking about exactly that, con pops.
Next up, we have ourselves Saturo Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen, and this is going to be shared with Hot Topic in both Canada and the US, and this is disappointing. Not going to lie, when you talk about anime convention pops, this shouldn't be on that list of anime pops. You look at the One Piece pops we just talked about, and then you compare to this pop. The ones we just talked about are leaps and bounds way better than this one. We've even had better Jujutsu Kaisen Comic-Con pops than this one here. This just looks like it could be a regular, common, or exclusive for an upcoming wave of Jujutsu Kaisen pops instead of making it a convention only. If this was a limited piece convention only pop, then I think I'd understand a little bit of why it's a convention pop. But because this is going to be a regular shared exclusive, especially to a retailer like Hot Topic that is super notorious for restocking a lot of pops, I feel this is not going to obtain a lot of value over time, and that people are going to end up finding this pop even sitting on Hot Topic shelves, especially when they eventually do like the buy one, get one free, or buy one pop for $1 sale over at Hot Topic. I don't think this is going to retain a lot of value over time. And I would have even rather seen another freaking Goku or Vegeta overseeing this one, considering that we know that there's detail in those pops compared to this one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's not a whole lot going on with this, and I do think this might be the top shelf sitter for this con.
Next up, we have ourselves a pop comic covers of Skrull as Iron Man for the Marvel lineup, which this will be shared with Target in the US only, and unfortunately nowhere here in Canada. I think this is pretty unique. It's a little bit of a different take for comic covers, especially because we see a lot of comic covers as terms to characters we know of, like let's say Wolverine for X-Men and Spider-Man, of course, from Spider-Man, but we have not seen really that many Funko products as terms to the character of Skrull, besides, I believe, with the huge abundance of Fantastic Four pops, especially when you unbox the mystery mini set. So it's really cool, especially even though, yes, it's Skrull as Iron Man, so you're acknowledging another Marvel character that has a lot of pops, but it's still a cool comic covers. Do I think it is like one of the top like 3 best comic covers? No, but I certainly don't think it's one of the worst comic covers either. So I think this is pretty decent.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. This is a pretty cool cover, and I like how the pop itself actually matches the cover itself with the posing right down to a T. What I do wish, and maybe it is a little different in person though, is that the green on Skrull's face wasn't so bright to kind of match the cover a bit more, or maybe put some kind of shading detail into it so that it does look more like the cover. That's just a very bright green color, I feel. But overall, this is a pretty decent comic covers. There have been some that I didn't really like, and there have been a lot that I really enjoyed. And I feel like, yeah, this one is right about in the middle of those.
All right, so the next pop we're going to be talking about, continuing on with Marvel, is Taweret from Moon Knight, which this is going to be shared with Target in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. And this is one of those pops that supposedly, for some reason, according to the Funko app, that this is going to be 3,000 pieces. So I don't understand how that would make sense for it to be shared with Target and be 3,000 pieces at the same time, especially when it's also being shared here in Canada to Toys R Us, and it's being shared as a regular Comic-Con exclusive to a bunch of retailers across the world. So I don't know if they mean 3,000 for each of the countries, or it's supposed to be 3,000 overall, or it's just an error, which I feel like it's got to be an error at this point, because why would they announce it as a 3,000 piece when it's being shared to a bunch of places? But I digress from that. As terms to the actual pop overall, I think it's awesome. I think that Moon Knight was such a great series that, especially with the Funko Pop lineup, they did a great job with it, with only having a couple of like repeat pops of specifications, while a lot of it was just new characters. And then they even made like pops like Khonshu as like more of a 6-inch figure, but still staying true to the 4-inch pop. And then we got like the 10-inch Temple of Khonshu, I believe it was. So they did pretty good with that lineup. And then now you have character like Taweret that I totally forgot was in the show and definitely deserved to have their own Funko Pop. So I really like the overall design. That's pretty sweet that they're making a pop cover. I think it's definitely one of the better pops of this convention.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the better pops of the convention. It's awesome to see a brand new Moon Knight pop, and the detail on this is wicked. Maybe the most detailed pop from this con, though a lot of these pops definitely did have some cool details. But with this one, I don't know, it's just a little bit next level. There's quite a bit going on with this pop, and it makes it awesome. And I feel like I might end up having to try to get one because I feel like our buddy Mitch is probably going to want to get this pop.
The next pop we're going to be talking about is Lord Krylar from Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which this will be shared with the Funko Shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. Now, I'm not entirely surprised, but surprised at the same time that we are getting more Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania pops. The movie just recently released in theaters within the last, I guess at this point, like almost month or so now. I do like the idea of doing kind of the obscure characters, even though I have not seen this movie yet, but more of the non-main characters as Comic-Con exclusives, because I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, let's get a Cassie Lang as a pop. Why isn't she a Comic-Con exclusive? But I think, if anything, she should be saved for an eventual Wave 2 common set rather than using her as a Comic-Con exclusive, unless it was from like a very specific moment, which I, once again, still haven't seen this movie, so I don't know the specific moments that they could do for a potential Comic-Con exclusive. But as terms to a regular 4-inch, she should be saved for a common release or a regular exclusive, not a Comic-Con exclusive. And there's a bit of mixed hype because this character supposedly only makes a 10-minute appearance, but there's also hype because this character is played by the legendary Bill Murray. So it's always cool to see some Bill Murray Funko Pops. So you've even seen Bill Murray Comic-Con exclusive pops, especially with that Life Aquatic pop from Emerald City Comic-Con in 2020, I believe, or 2021. I don't exactly remember, but this is a pop that I think definitely makes sense to be a Comic-Con exclusive. I just don't know how well it's going to sell, especially because of how the Funko Shop is a little bit oversaturated as terms to shared exclusive pops.
This pop is pretty cool, and I haven't seen the movie yet either. I have heard good things about it, and I have heard bad things about it. So going on to the pop, this is a decent pop. I mean, did we need this? I don't know. Maybe. I haven't seen the movie, like I said, so I don't know the relevance of this character, but it is cool to see another Bill Murray pop. You can always kind of tell that it's Bill Murray when you're looking at a pop that Bill Murray has played that character. And with this one, it's about the same with that. You can pretty much tell that it's Bill Murray. Maybe not as much as some other pops, but either way, this is pretty cool. And this definitely makes sense to be a con exclusive.
All right, and the last pop we're going to be talking about, Groot with Detonator from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which this will be shared with Walmart in both Canada and the US. Now, I got a little bit of mixed reaction towards this personally, mainly because the good thing is because it's from like a little bit of a memorable scene, I believe, where Rocket Raccoon made this explosive device and he tells Groot to press the red button, but there's 2 red buttons. So Groot has no idea which button to press. He doesn't want to press the wrong one. But I think this pop, and this is where the bad part of this comes to play, is why wasn't this made years ago? And I mean, when the movie came out in like 2017, 2018, of when these pops were released, instead of giving us this now. I get it for the marketing standpoint about Volume 3 releasing in May, so it's a little bit of hype going towards that movie, but I think we could have even gotten like a soda involved with Volume 3 for a Comic-Con exclusive to go along with the promotion of that movie instead of giving us a pop that should have been released years ago.
Yeah, I feel like I am kind of conflicted with this one. I kind of like the pop, but yeah, why didn't we see this earlier? But at the same time, there's so many Groots, and I feel like Groot is kind of turning into the Deadpool of Funko, where there's just a lot of different Deadpools, and we're seeing all these crazy Deadpools that just don't make any sense. I get the joke kind of behind the Deadpool pops, but I feel like Groot is going that way, where there's just so many different versions. And I mean, unless you're a huge fan of Groot, then I don't really see why you need to have every single version, when honestly, with my collection, I have one or maybe two, and I'm very content with that. But this is a pretty decent pop.
All right, so before we end this off, because we have no more pops to talk about, we should mention, of course, that WonderCon is happening the weekend of March 24th to the 26th. And of course, your shared retailers should be able to get these, I believe, the Friday, which is the 24th, at whatever retailer, in which I should also mention MD's opinions on some of his favorites and least favorites. I was going to participate in this, but also we had the video of the worst to best WonderCon exclusives that I did. So I feel like I shouldn't participate in that, because then it'll just kind of give away what I said in that video. So MD, as terms to the selection we have at WonderCon for this year, what do you feel are, like, let's say, I don't know, maybe top 3, maybe top 5 pops that you don't like and why you don't like them? And then let's say top 3 pops that you think are the best and that most likely you will be getting.
Okay, so I guess we will start off with the bottom 3 pops from this con that I just do not like. I got to start off with the Hedwig, because we've seen a lot of different Hedwig pops, and this one isn't too much different, though it does have the letter, and that is a kind of cool aspect to it. I don't think it's enough, especially to make it a con pop. Then the next pop, I guess, would be the Jujutsu Kaisen pop. There's not a whole lot going on with this, and like we said, we do think this is probably going to sit on shelves for quite some time, so that's got to be in the bottom. And then the last one for the bottom 3, I would have to go with the Freddy Funko baseball. I feel like we've seen pops like this before, and it just doesn't seem refreshing, especially with the clown. The clown looks a lot better than the baseball player Freddy. And then moving on to the top 3 in no specific order, I'm going to start out with Lotso. This is awesome. It's cool to see Lotso in the classics lineup. It's great to see a new Lotso pop that is actually decently, easily accessible without forking out a ton of money. So that's great to add to our Toy Story collections. Then I'd have to say probably Flik. It's a pop that I probably won't be getting, but the details there, it is more of a deluxe pop, which is really, really cool. I think this is probably going to be in a deluxe box. I mean, it's going to have to, especially if the Flik pop itself is the same size as a normal pop. But yeah, this is great, and it's an awesome way to represent Bug's Life, especially if they are going to make more pops this year. And then the last pop for the top 3 is got to be the blue gelatinous cube. I'd probably go with the glow-in-the-dark variant, because I mean, that's a lot harder to get, and if the glow is good, then this is going to look really, really sweet. This pop has a lot of detail. I love how the whole body is inside the gelatinous cube, and I love how you have those arrows that are actually penetrating it, so that looks great, and definitely one of my favorite pops from this con.
All right, guys, so that is going to be the end of this edition of a Funko Popcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what your favorite pops are, or what you're planning on obtaining for WonderCon 2023. And thank you for listening, and we hope to see you guys on another edition of a Funko Popcast. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.
I am Groot. Peace in, peace out.